Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anissa Barton-Thompson, and I'm the social media specialist for the California State University Dominguez Hills College of Extended and International Education, and I'll be your host for this presentation. We are going to be presenting our webinar for the Applied Studies Bachelors of Science degree program here at California State University Dominguez Hills. Welcome. We have provided a link in the chat for those who are participating live. However, it will also be available in a follow-up email to the attendees who registered for this particular webinar, as well as on our website. Okay, a little bit of additional information. This webinar includes a Q&A and a chat module where you can ask questions throughout the session. We'll address your questions at the end of our presentation. We just want to make sure that you can click and view your controls at the bottom of your Zoom window. And then the Q&A dialogue will pop up on your screen and you can type in your questions. They'll go directly to our panelists and our academic advisors that are here in the session with us today. Speaking of, I will go ahead and introduce our program attendees that are panelists for today. Dr. Betty Vu is the Assistant Dean and Graduate and Professional Programs Lead for the Applied Studies program for the College of Business and Public Policy. Ms. Jessica Peraza is the academic advisor and pre-admissions advisor for the program, and she'll be leading the main part of the program today. And Dr. Thomas Norman, who's one of the lead instructors and faculty for this particular program, and he's also here to assist today. Dr. Vu, take it away.
Hi, thank you, Anissa. I'd like to just welcome everyone, and I'm glad to see such strong interest in the Applied Studies major. And I'm hoping that you will find the next hour informative, as well as the next step in completing or advancing your own professional and academic interests. So we are all here today to discuss the major, talk about the potential opportunities, as well as cover the minor administrative issues as well. So without further ado, I will let Ms. Peraza continue on with the next slide.
Hello, everyone. Great to have you. I am Jessica Peraza. I'm the pre-admissions and academic advisor for the Applied Studies bachelor's degree. And we'll start off with answering a question that I'm frequently asked, which is, what is Applied Studies? And while there's no short answer, I can say that this major is designed for the working adult to complete their bachelor's degree completely online. The major is offered by the College of Extended and International Education, and it's designed by the College of Business and Admin and Public Policy with a multidisciplinary perspective in leadership and management. Since the curriculum can be broad, it can be applied to different fields, which makes it a very attractive option for those who are currently working and seek advancement in their current position, or simply for those that are seeking a position that requires a bachelor's degree. So to summarize, the major does combine a variety of different studies, and it emphasizes practical applications in areas such as management, leadership, marketing, industrial psychology, and so forth. The program, like I mentioned, is offered completely online, so there's no need to come to campus at all unless you wanted to. And at the same time, it does not follow a cohort model. So the scheduling of classes is flexible based on your individual needs. So for that reason, we do offer full 15-week-long fall, spring, and also a full 15-week-long summer term. And then when it comes to the classes themselves, they're asynchronous, which simply means they are self-paced. You can work on the coursework at your own time, and you don't need to be logged in at the same time as the rest of your class. Again, adding on to that flexibility. And when it comes to the graduation requirements, in order to obtain a bachelor's degree, all students are required to complete at least 120 semester units. And at the very least, 60 of those 120 units are transferred in from the junior college and would likely satisfy most, if not all, of your lower division general education coursework. If you're transferring in without having all your lower division GEs completed, then they will need to be completed or transferred in at a later time, but before graduation. Up to a total of 90 units can be transferred in. However, coursework approved at the upper division level, which is 300 and 400 level courses, does depend on the qualifications and the coursework that's provided. So that will be reviewed after the coursework is provided. And then in addition, all major requirements, majors are required to be to complete the graduation writing assessment, which we call the GWAR. And you can satisfy that by either taking and passing the graduate writing exam or by taking and passing an advanced composition course. And then we can start discussing the program curriculum itself, where you can get a better idea of what the major actually consists of. Please note that within 24 hours, for those watching, we'll be emailing the webinar an information kit, which will include the overview of the major requirements. For those that are now watching live, we'll provide the link one more time for you to have access to view the overview of the curriculum. But assuming you're transferring in with all your lower division general ed completed only, then here you would be completing a total of 60 semester units. And since all of our courses are 3 units each, this makes up a total of 20 courses for the major. Now, 3 of those courses are upper division general education coursework, and that's required for all CSUDH graduates. Those 3 courses are made up of 1 humanities, 1 social and behavioral science, and then 1 science and math and technology course. The 3 upper division GE courses that we most frequently offer are applied study students are SPS 318, which is cultural pluralism, SMT 312, which is natural disasters, and then humanities 310, which is key concepts. Your options are not just limited to these 3, so there are more options in addition to the ones that we typically offer. And then there are also 2 major specific requirements. And then I'll allow Dr. Thomas Norman to join us and elaborate on the selection of these 2 courses.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. I wanted everybody watching to get a sense of what the faculty, how they teach, what they look like. So I'm one of the professors that teaches applied studies courses, of which there are 2. There's our APS 300, and that's typically going to be the first class that you take. It's called Ethos of Liberal Arts and the Role of Work. And what we're trying to do is, you might have transferred in with 60 units, you might have transferred in with 90, but you've done some lower level general education, humanities, science, etc. The cornerstone of this course is then going through this textbook called the 21st Century Ethical Toolbox, and drawing on what you already know to apply it to the role of work. Applied Studies has its name because it's focused on the application of your science, your humanities, your social behavioral courses into your career, into the organization you work for. In fact, we're working to actually transform the name of these courses into organizational leadership studies. So many students tell me this feels like a mini business degree. It doesn't have the finance or the stats, but you'll see the portfolio of courses coming up. Is very rich in public administration, management, communications, those skills that everybody finds really helpful in whatever job they have. So that's the first course, and in that we begin customizing this program to you. That's something I'm very passionate about. So you'll get introduced to this notion of design thinking from Stanford as to how do I make my readings work for what I want to do and maybe what I'm doing now, and you'll get the opportunity to work on an Odyssey plan to spend the 1 or 2 years you have with us, those 60 to 30 units, exploring those things in a way that make the most sense to you. The final course, then the capstone course, which should be your last course, is the course that I teach most frequently, so you're almost certain to see me in that course. That's our seminar on occupational leadership. And at this point, to be honest, I treat you like a graduate student. That should be an entryway. Some of you will move on to a master's program, and we revisit this design framework, but we also add to it the Gallup strength system, where you'll emerge knowing what your top 5 strengths are that are each unique to you, and how those might inform what that next career choice is, whether it's a promotion, an industry change, starting your own business. So what we wanted to highlight here is just a little taste of the types of readings, the thinking you'll be doing. One other resource that we use is Good to Great. This can be applied to the public, private, nonprofit sectors to make sure you're able to connect this to your organization. So think about this. You're thinking about yourself as a member of an organization, but we're also trying to give you the skills to increase the performance of your organization, whatever that might be. And again, that's the heart of this program. The next bit we'll share with you is going to go into the details where you have a choice of focus.
As Dr. Dorman was saying, we do have also, in addition to these 2 courses, part of the major requirements include a completion of 21 semester units, which is equivalent to 7 courses, in what we call the liberal arts component. We have different options for you to choose from. However, you'll only be required to choose 7 from your preference. Dr. Norman, would you like to discuss anything else to this part of the curriculum?
Just as you're looking at this, note there's a variety of management courses. If you find you have an interest in that, you might then expand into human resource management, or if you have more of an interest in politics, you've got a couple political courses to choose from. So what I think is so exciting about this is you can be like that kid in a candy store where instead of saying you just get chocolate, you get to pick. Or think of a buffet where else could you say, hey, I get to pick from a history class, I get to pick from a communications class, a marketing class. You really get a lot of choice, again, because this should be applied to you and your organization. So you'll get to make 7 choices. It's like 7 picks at that candy box. So if you don't like nuts, you don't like theater, you can stay away from that.
And then within the major, students also have the option of choosing between 2 different tracks, depending on the career field you might be interested in pursuing. The options we have is public sector management track, and you can also choose the other option is the strategic communication track. Both tracks are a total of 24 units or 8 courses. For the public administration track, we can begin with that. 2 courses are required for all students in this track, and that is Pub 300, which is Foundations for Public Administration, and we have also Pub 301, which is Admin, Leadership, and Behavior. And then the other 6 courses, a total of 18 units, are chosen from the options outlined here. And again, this track is really popular with students who are interested in pursuing a career in the public sector or aspire to work in this field. Did you want to add anything else, Dr. Norman?
And let me again stress, this is where the choices get crazy, right? If at the last slide you had a small Whitman sampler, here you have the whole candy store at your disposal. When you get to choose 6 courses, we have all communication courses you can pick from. So you could pick 6 just within there, or all economics courses if you find you have a love for economic study. You can choose any of our law courses, any of our upper division public administration. So you could make this almost a pure pub experience. And then we have selected management, labor studies, 1 extra psych course you can pick from. So we've, as a faculty, we've tried to figure out how to make this as open as possible, as long as there's that application to our core of organizational or leadership studies to fit you. And the nice thing is you're not constraining yourself. If you start out with this and you take 2 pub courses, many of my students don't know which job they're going to end up with. They apply for a job with the federal government, they apply for a job private sector. Those 2 courses could make you very competitive for the government jobs, but it's not constraining you like a public administration's degree might.
And then we also have the, like you mentioned, the strategic communications track. You can also see that it's a total of 24 units, 8 courses. In this, if the public sector track might not be to your interest, or if you're more inclined to the private sector, the communications track is even a little bit more broad. You're only required to take one specific course within the track, which is Com 250, which is news writing for media. And then you would choose 7 electives, pretty similar to the public sector track. As you can see, there's a wide variety of options. Did you want to elaborate anything else on the strategic communications track, Dr. Norman?
And Jessica's done a great job, right? This constrains you by one course, but it signals this interest in communications, and that news writing for media, again, is very applied. As you become a manager, you'll be trying to get attention for your organization. If you're public safety, right? Wash your hands. We all know to wash our hands, right? You've probably heard that many times in the media, so everybody will take that. And then if you love that, you can, find 7 more communications courses, and if you're like, yeah, I know I'm going to have to deal with the press, but not my thing, you have that flexibility of moving into these other areas. Again, you get to pick from any communication, econ, law, public administration course. So, think of that all-you-can-eat buffet in Vegas, right? You can sample everything and leave the degree very happy to reflect in that capstone course.
Thank you, Dr. Norman. Now, when it comes to the admissions requirements, in order to gain admissions to the Applied Studies BS degree, you must meet the admissions requirement as a transfer student. This includes having a cumulative GPA of at least a 2.0 in transferable units, as well as being in good academic standing at the college or university you most recently attended. As I previously mentioned, you must have completed at least 60 semester units or 90 quarter units of transferable coursework as well. You will also need to have completed at least one transferable course with a C or better in the subject areas of math, English, critical thinking, and communication, which your community college might call the Golden Four. If you're unsure as to which courses might meet the transferable requirements, you can consult with your community college counselor or even myself by sending me a copy of your transcripts. You can also visit assist.org, the CSUDH requirement equivalents. And when speaking regarding the program cost, the tuition for this program is charged per course rather than per semester. That is, the cost per course, per unit is $500. And since all of our courses are 3 units each, the total tuition cost for each of the course is $1,500. You won't see any additional student fees though, for example, such as the health fee, but do anticipate the cost of the textbooks or other materials needed, since the tuition cost doesn't include these fees. And then the total cost of the program may vary from student to student, depending on how much coursework is being transferred in. However, on average, if you're completing all the upper division coursework here, then the program cost is approximately $25,000 to $30,000. To help fund the cost, you may definitely apply for financial aid by completing a FAFSA application, and that's completed at fafsa.ed.gov. There's a variety of financial aid available, and to help fund the cost, those types of financial aid include subsidized and unsubsidized student loans. We offer university and college funded scholarships. And also, you may be eligible for federal and Cal Grant for those students who qualify. However, do keep in mind that there is a grant called the State University Grant that does not apply for applied studies major. So while other grants do apply, this specific grant, the State University Grant, does not apply. Okay. And the Applied Studies major accepts applications for fall, spring, and also for summer term, and applications are submitted at calstateapplied.edu. Currently, our fall term is open, and we are very close to the deadline to apply. The deadline is this July 1st. For those who applied, you'll also need to submit official transcripts and all documents requested no later than July 15th for the application to be considered. For the spring term, our application opens up August 1st and November 1st, and the document deadline is November 29th. Okay. And for our summer term, we open up applications February 1st, and they close April 1st. The summer document deadline is April 15th. Do keep in mind that the admissions requirements must be met before submitting the application in order to be considered for admissions. If there's any courses in progress at the time of the application submitted, those courses may not be considered. So just be mindful of that. So if you're ready to apply now, or when you're ready to apply, you may do so, like I said, at calstateapply.edu. When you land at this page, you'll need to select the term that you're applying first, and then create an account with Cal State Applied if you don't already have one. Once logged in, you may complete the application, which asks about demographics, academic history, and do note at the conclusion of the application, there is a $70 non-refundable application fee. You'll find a step-by-step guide on how to navigate through the Cal State Apply portal. If you need additional assistance navigating through the portal, you can also contact a Cal State Apply customer service representative, and their phone number is 857-304-2087.
Well, thank you, Jessica, for talking about where to apply. But I'd like to touch next on the online experience of the program. Since this is 100% online major, we are as Jessica had mentioned earlier, asynchronous learning module. Now, asynchronous essentially means that students are given activities to do, either discussion boards or writing assignments and whatnot throughout the week. And so there are certain deadlines that faculty members will put in their courses that you will need to perform week to week to week. And so the expectation shouldn't be that you can do all your work in one day or in one segment of the week, but it's supposed to mirror on-campus experience in the sense that you are still working and participating in the course as you go along. So in terms of requirements, obviously we would need you to have a computer, and we obviously would need you to have the internet access for you to access our what we call Blackboard, which is a type of learning management software. So it's a portal where your courses are listed on your dashboard, and you can click on your courses. And so if you've taken any of your community college courses online, it's probably fairly similar. A lot of the California community colleges are on Canvas, so you're probably familiar with Canvas. But at Cal State Dominguez Hills, we use a system called Blackboard. It's probably very similar in look and feel. There might be some minor nuances, but you'll probably be able to navigate through all of that. And of course, the instructors do have some type of guidelines within their course of what they expect you to do and access. So there should be that ability. And also, our department does have an internal IT support person who can kind of help you through any kind of technical difficulties if you're just trying to navigate and can't figure it out. The IT support person has access to both the class and can see what you're seeing, so they can kind of help navigate you through things. So as we were mentioning earlier, Blackboard is our learning management system, and for those instructors who choose to do live sessions or webinars such as what we're doing right now, as you can see, we use a software called Zoom or Blackboard Collaborate. So your ability to be able to access the internet, and also the ability to have a consistent internet access may be very helpful for you to make sure that you can see all of these things well. And then in terms of login credentials, we do give all of our admitted students login credentials. So all students at the beginning of their admission will be given a student account, what we call Toro Mail. So the university IT will send you via email to your whatever email address you use on your application. We will send you an email to that and say to you, oh, here's your new student account. Here's your new student email. This is how you set up your password. And so you will have to click on that and access so that you can start accessing it. It's essentially a Gmail account, but we call it Toro Mail. So if you have a Gmail account already, then you're probably very familiar with how Gmail works. And so you can add that as an account in either your smartphone or on your Google profile. So however you want to choose to do that, we do recommend that you set that up. We also recommend too, when you have your student account, to flag or make sure certain emails coming from the department or coming from certain departments within the university, like financial aid or the registrar, you prioritize so that you make sure you get really important student communications from us, as we usually send out all of our student communications from our department email address or leadership. So in that sense, that's how you are given login access, as well as how you can start accessing your student portal. And your student portal is important because those things, besides accessing your courses, you can access things like financial aid, course evaluations, how to apply for graduation. So all of those little administrative stuff is also in your student portal, and we call it the My CSUDH. And so that will give you access to that as well. So next, I want to talk about why students are motivated to kind of come to the program. So the Applied Studies program, a lot of our students are looking to improve their skill set or to enhance their work and professional endeavors. And so this particular student, Janine, is a working adult, and she was looking to do more with her professional goals. And so she looked at the Applied Studies as a stepping stone to moving forward. And she had a great experience in terms of her time here at Dominguez Hills. Despite being an online-only student, she was still connected with us in terms of either via phone or via email. So don't feel that since you're an online student, you're not able to come onto campus. If you're in the LA area, you're always welcome to access things face-to-face. Well, outside of this COVID pandemic, once we reopen fully, you can visit us on campus, you can talk to Jessica, you can have an in-person meeting, or we could do things by phone or by email. We are always available for you. And so we're here to help you move forward. The faculty are here to help you move forward. And so we are all here engaged and in your best interest, trying to help you move forward within your professional endeavors.
You know, the faculty, you know, Dominguez Hills share a common value. We love the fact that we work with a lot of first generation students. We love the fact that, you know, 80% of our students in my department are working full time, and we're helping them track a path to the middle class or beyond. And how do we do this? Well, we have to have very strong academics. So this testimonial from John, you know, talks about the curriculum being arduous and challenging. And I don't want to scare you away because the values we have allow you to succeed and do challenging work. This is a WASC accredited program, right? So this is going to be a valuable degree. That requires us to have X number of contact hours, the same as if you were at Stanford or you know, another school. We all have these contact hours that are required. So the readings are going to be challenging, you know, maybe arduous, but there's faculty like myself and my colleagues that are there to help you. And with the writing, you know, many of us break the writing papers down into more manageable chunks. We practice in the discussion boards, and often, you know, with students like this that help you learn from each other as you then get to that final submission. We're not a program where it's all one paper to final exam. That doesn't work for working adults. That doesn't work for most learners. And you see there our former provost in the slide, now a president, you know, understanding that this is what our university and what the Applied Studies program is all about. I took the liberty of talking to a few students who just finished the program and had the Applied Studies 490 with me. And here's a quote that might help you in making that decision to join me in the fall. I personally benefited from this program. I learned the difference between nonprofits and the private industry, and I can honestly say that I'm a more prepared student as a result of finishing Applied Studies. And another student writes, not only is this class a perfect bookend when paired with Applied Studies 300, remember that intro course, it serves as a course that's not just a stepping stone for your career and beyond, but it gives you those skills and lessons to duplicate going forward. It makes you think seriously about where you're going. The student now has several documents and activities they've used to map out, in this case, her short-term and long-term futures academically and professionally. That's what the Applied Studies means. We have rigor, but we also encourage you through things like LinkedIn to emerge from this program with 20 to 30 good contacts who went through a rigorous program and are going to help you to advance to those new heights in your career.
And here we see the testimonial of Cynthia, who was one of our alumni, who talks about the real world application. And I get this message, a similar message very often, since when as an APS Applied Studies student, you're interacting with other professionals all the time as well. So those professionals happen to be your instructors, your classmates. With working with students in this major, I see students who are working in a variety of different fields. You know, from students who have been in working at a specific, with a specific institution or company for 20 plus years, to those students who just started working, you know, a part-time job or a full-time job that might not be where they want to get to, where they want to be. So they use this as a platform to advance. So it does become an exchange of real world practices as you're interacting with your classmates, your instructors. So it makes the learning more hands-on, and it's learning that's current and applicable to the world today. So it, you know, I like to say it might also be a platform for networking, in interacting with your instructors and classmates as well. I can imagine that you might have additional questions about the major itself. So we'll be moving on to our Q&A session to hopefully help answer some of those questions. So at this point, you can go ahead and, if you had any specific questions, we'll go ahead and start that.
Okay. Thank you, Jessica, and thank you everybody on our panel. We have a few questions that are coming in. Just a general reminder, if you have additional questions after seeing what we've participated in today or based on any information on our website, please go ahead and use the Q&A panel below, and we're going to be reading out your questions online right now. So first question that came in is from Michael, and he asks, are all semesters 15 weeks, including the summer?
That is correct, yeah. So including the summer, all the fall, the spring, and the summer term are all 15 weeks long.
Okay, and along those lines, a similar question came from Chantel. She asks, is there time off in between the semesters? And if so, how does that work?
Typically the schedule, we have a schedule that's almost year round. In between semesters, we have maybe a couple weeks off. But if any students needed to take an entire term off, as long as students are taking at least one fall or spring term a year, you can stay active in the program.
Okay. Question just came in from Manitou, who asks, I sent my transcripts over to admissions. Will you be able to get it from admissions directly?
If they were official transcripts, they're typically archived in a system that might be viewable, but to double check, I would advise students to send me directly, either by scheduling a one-on-one advising meeting or by emailing to the email address we'll provide briefly, a copy of unofficial transcripts. That can suffice for me to do a pre-admissions review to determine where the student stands with the admissions process.
Awesome. Okay. Chad has a question. If I have all transfer courses complete, accept the math course, would I be able to take the math course statistics at CSU Dominguez Hills while taking courses in applied studies in the first semester?
So math specifically happens to be one of those golden 4 courses that I mentioned. So it's one of the courses that do have to be satisfied before being able to gain admissions. The student might be able to take the class at CSUDH openly, but not before being admitted into the program.
Okay.
To also add in, if you as an applicant know that anything but missing the math really precludes you from being formally admitted into the university, students can take applied studies courses as a visiting student before being admitted. So, and those courses will still count towards your degree once you are formally admitted into the program. So it is possible to take it, but there are some pros and cons to that particular avenue. So that's something that you probably want to have that discussion with Jessica on a one-on-one.
Yes,
Okay.
Good point.
Here's another question from Joaquin. If I was previously a civil engineering major, will those courses count towards this degree?
So when it comes to transferring in coursework, typically, especially if it's at the upper division level, the coursework would have to be reviewed, and the courses that are transferable can be decided once the student's admitted. However, when it comes to the general education coursework, if it's a transferable general education course that was passed, most of those courses would transfer over.
Lindsay asks, it's been a number of years since I received my units from community college. Will that be an issue with applying for admission?
The transfer courses don't have a recency requirement, so typically lower division courses don't expire. If the courses are transferable courses, it shouldn't cause an issue at the point of admissions, even if they were taking a few years back.
Okay. Amir asks, do you have an estimate on when staff and students will be returning to the campus in regards to the COVID-19 pandemic?
So since this program's all online, it doesn't really impact whether or not students are able to come on campus for the classes. Just keep in mind that the program is going to be 100% online. It doesn't require any in-person meetings. Dr. Betty Vu, did you want to elaborate on that?
In terms of the current predicaments and current situation now within the state of California, we are all under the governance of Governor Newsom. And so the expectation is that the CSU Chancellor's Office, so as part of the CSU system, all 23 campuses report up to the Chancellor's Office. And so it will be determined by the Chancellor's Office whether or not we are allowed to return. At the moment, they have made the decision to have the majority of the campuses operate remotely for fall of 2020, and all instruction, regardless of whether it was supposed to be on campus or hybrid or whatnot, are now all virtual. Should everything go according to plan, I believe that the moment the expectation is that possibly spring of 2021, the CSU may reopen its campuses to have instruction on campus. And as Jessica has mentioned earlier, applied studies is completely online. So our expectations, we did not miss a beat when everyone went to online teaching in mid-March. Since we were already online, most of our resources are available to all of our students. Again, I mentioned earlier that you are always welcome to come onto campus to visit us, but we also have processes in place so that all of our students in particular can have all of their things managed either via email, via phone, or we will handle it for you if it requires something in person. Let's pretend if you wanted to submit some type of petition, the cashier's office is over here, and they require, you know, a $10 fee, and you can't get onto campus, you email the forms to Jessica, because Jessica is the enrollment advisor, so she handles both admissions and current student issues. So she is familiar with what's going on in terms of your day-to-day. And so we can handle that here for you on your behalf. That is part of why, you know, we have structured the Applied Studies program through College of Extended Ed to have those types of resources available to students specifically in this major.
Okay. Mia asks a question: how do we get an appointment to share our transcripts for review? And how many credits do you have to complete at Dominguez Hills in order to obtain the degree?
You can, to discuss admissions eligibility, students can schedule a one-on-one consultation appointment with me at, I'll provide my Calendly account, which is calendly.com/APSJPeraza. And I believe there was a second part of that question, which is how, can you repeat the question again? Sorry.
Let's see.
I think it was regarding how many classes need to be completed while at CSUDH.
Right.
The residency requirement is 30 units, so up to 90 units can be accepted as transfer. But just to remind students, the transferable coursework at the upper division level has to be reviewed. And it'll depend on the coursework that's been completed.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And we have an additional question. A little bit of clarification Carlos is looking for. Does being a visiting student, is that similar to enrolling in Open University?
The Open University is really designed for students who are seeking to take units at Dominguez Hills and transfer it back to their university. So the university has a different process and a different name for those kinds of students. For us, so for a visiting student, for us, it means that you're really intending to come to us eventually. And so what we do is we allow students who we believe will be coming through to the program. And so that's why we really caution you to have a conversation with Jessica before you do this, because you won't be considered a regular student that you are traditionally probably used to understanding. So things like financial aid won't be open to you. So those are the kinds of conversations that you should be having with Jessica in terms of, are you, really interested in starting in the program? If we're just missing math, can we work through and make sure that, you don't want to lose momentum? Because if it's only 1 or 2 courses missing, and everything else is fine, then, and you're very committed to transferring over to Dominguez Hills and continuing and finishing your degree at Dominguez Hills, then that is certainly something that you can certainly consider doing as a visiting student. But otherwise, sometimes the security of knowing you've been admitted outweighs that. So it really depends on the student situation. So I always encourage students to have that conversation with Jessica so that, you make sure it's really a good decision for you.
Okay. Our next question is from Matthew. He asks, if I am currently enrolled at El Camino College wrapping up the spring 2020 semester, will those transferable credits be applicable on my official transcripts for fall 2020 at CSUDH?
Yes, more than likely, since we are accepting applications for fall up until July 1st. If the course, I would assume if it's a spring 20 course, I would assume it'll be ending soon, hopefully before July 1st. Then students have up until July 15th to submit transcripts. And that's to give students in those colleges that are sending the transcripts additional time to have all grades posted in the official transcripts. So again, the document deadline would be July 15th to have those transcripts submitted.
Erica would like to ask, is it safe to presume if I have an associate's degree from an accredited California community college that I'd be eligible for admission into the program?
A lot of the times, students with an associate's degree might be eligible, but it might not always be the case. We still have to review students' admissions eligibility to determine if they meet also the general education coursework that is required for admission. So specifically, we'll want to make sure students have the transferable math, English, communications, and critical thinking course completed. And it might not always be a requirement to complete an associate's degree. So it depends from it varies from student to student depending on the coursework they've completed.
Wonderful. Okay. And kind of along those same lines, Aketa is asking, I obtained my AA degree in liberal arts from Santa Monica, but did not take a statistics for math class. Would I still qualify for the program based on that, or is that also a review issue?
So like I was mentioning, students are required to have a transferable math course before gaining admissions to the program. It doesn't have to be statistics specifically. However, it does require a transferable math. If the student's not sure if they meet that transferable math with any of the math they've already completed, I would also welcome them to schedule a one-on-one consultation for me to review transcripts.
Okay. And this one I'm going to kind of field to Dr. Vu and Dr. Norman. Amir asks, if while exploring applied studies and various classes within the program, there are some classes that you end up wanting to pursue more outside of the major, would that be possible? What if you'd like to pursue a subject that's even further? Could you complete that applied studies degree and continue to another major? Or how would you have to change, or would you have to change majors completely? So that's a little bit more complex then.
I will kind of take a stab at it first. In terms of majors, and that this is going to be true of any major you are pursuing at the university, all majors have certain requirements and certain courses that you need to kind of take to meet the degree requirements. So we've structured the courses the way it makes the most sense towards our intended learning goals. And so it really depends on what we're talking about. If it's one or two courses, that's something that we can have a discussion about in terms of what you would want it as a substitution for. But if you're talking like half the courses or half the major, then it really this isn't the right major for you. So if we do have at the university another major called interdisciplinary studies. That major does allow you to basically choose any classes you want within the university, and you do go ahead and take all the classes you want. And I think there's like a handful of like required courses, and then you graduate with an interdisciplinary studies degree. If you want to change majors completely, you have to be mindful, whatever that other major is, they also have their own degree requirements, and they may not take whatever units that has been transferred in. So you have to kind of weigh what it is that you really want to. But it sounds to me you may want to have a conversation with Jessica on a one-on-one in terms of understanding what direction you are looking for to do, and whether or not applied studies is really the fit for you, or whether it's another major within the university.
I'll add to that. Dr. Wu is entirely right. So our program learning outcomes for this program is you're going to work on your critical thinking. You're going to demonstrate disciplinary proficiency. Remember, you focus on communications or public administration, writing skills. That's going to be common to most majors. But this one has a focus on career planning, being our fourth program learning outcome, and then integrative synthesis, which because you're doing many different disciplines, but applying them to organizations and leadership, that's going to be fairly unique. So when you think about that, your ability to switch to public administration, or if you love management, you would have some courses done, but you'll have to just map what you've done with what that major needs. Now, where I want to caution you is seeing this is offered through our College of International Extended Education. I also am a management professor. We do not offer that choice through this option, right? You'd have to become a traditional student, which has a different structure. So, while you might have an interest in something else, I did want to make it clear the the interdisciplinary studies program operates similar to this, but we don't have a lot of these degree completion programs running through this current college. So that confuses some students. You might see the catalog. Just because a course is in there doesn't mean it's going to be offered online, and doesn't mean it's going to be offered in this 3-term per year system, which is really set up for that working professional.
Excellent. And along those lines, addressing how the terms are set up. Ileana, Manitou, Chantel, a few students or potential students are interested in knowing how do those terms work. So how many courses per semester can a working student take on average? And approximately how many semesters would be required to complete the program? And is there a degree completion time limit along those lines?
I'll start with kind of my advice, and then you'll get the better technical advice. I have students typically taking 2 working, and that's a stretch. Taking 1, there's nothing wrong with that. You can really focus. So that's kind of my normal experience, and it really depends. If somebody's lost a job and has a lot more time to focus, then 2 obviously is a nice fit. But that's what I have experienced in the classes. But I'll let the advisor and dean talk more of the technical feasibility.
In terms of my working with students for the past 7 years, the expectation from the department is ideally no more than 3, because we want you to be, since students are usually working full time, swing shifts and whatnot, we don't really want you to try to take like 5 classes. That's like a 40-hour full-time workload, and also a 40-hour professional workload. So we don't have any particular maximum per se or minimum per se, except for 1 per semester per academic year to maintain your student status. But we operate by guidelines, and so we will have a conversation with you if you're requesting more than 3 courses. So for the applied studies program, we do control the registration. So students who are in the applied studies majors are always guaranteed a spot in the applied studies sections that is offered on our calendar. And so because of that, we definitely know who is a non-applied studies student and an applied studies student. So since we control the enrollment, we kind of try to keep that to around 30 students per section. And so we are much more hands-on. So there is never a sense of like being worried or fighting for a class that you would maybe all normally have within the general university, or if you're coming from community college, like you get priorities. You have to go as fast as you can in terms of whenever your appointment is set up. We don't operate that way because we know our students' population, and so because we keep it that way, we don't really normally have students worry about getting into a class. Now, taking too many classes is more of our concern. So we would rather you do well in all of your classes than kind of like squeak by. For some students, they want to just squeak by. And we really discourage that because we really want you to gain the knowledge that you need and have a more enriching experience, because it doesn't really do us any good as a major to have students say, oh yeah, I got my degree and then I'm off and I kind of like did whatever I did, but I crammed as much courses as I could. But again, it's all up to the individual student. So we've had some conversations with students who want to take 5 classes, and after having a conversation with the student, and we're like, okay, well, that makes sense in your situation. Some students may not like that, but we really want to make sure that you're progressing in the program, and we just don't want to see you burnt out. So sometimes some students bristle under our request to kind of have a conversation with us. So if you don't really like talking to us a lot of times, just let us know. We're more than willing to let you independently roam away. But yes, in terms of expectations of when to complete the degree, we don't have an expectations. You know, ideally, we'd like to see you finish your degree in 2 years, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. We're more interested that you actually complete your degree. And so we're really looking at either 2 to 3 classes per semester, and they're all 15-week semesters. So you may be used to seeing summer semesters truncated amongst traditional universities, but that's because they're basically cramming more content within a time span, and we don't need to do that because we have 15 weeks per semester. So there is no need to make any particular semester shorter than the other. It doesn't make sense for us. And because our expectation is you're a year-round student, so we expect you to be with us the entire time, because you're a working adult. So if you're a working adult, you're not going off to doing summer internships or whatnot. But we don't have this need to have a shorter summer, and so that way, students are always on a consistent and routine basis. And so that's what we want to make, is consistent and routine basis, so that you kind of get into a rhythm of things. And once 2 years has passed, don't worry, it goes by really, really quick.
Excellent.
Just to briefly add on that, actually, I just wanted to add that, so that's where the flexibility comes in. I think both Dr. Vu and Dr. Norman, nicely summarized what that was, but I did want to also point out that on each semester, students are consulting with me directly, so I'm always advising throughout the program, depending on what your needs are, and make recommendations from there. So don't feel like you're ever alone in needing to decide how many classes is the right fit for you.
And I don't want the person or the couple people who asked the question, how many semesters, keep in mind, we need to know how many classes you need to graduate, right? So it's really variable. You can do it in just under 2 years if you really go quickly, but that's not probably going to be the right fit. So unfortunately, there's no simple answer to that. You really do need to tell us how many units you're coming in with, so we can tell you how quickly you can get out.
Okay. One last quick question from Chantel before we wrap up our session. She asks, is there a master's pathway from the Applied Studies program?
So in terms of the Applied Studies program, within my responsibility, I also run the Master's in Public Administration program. And I do get a lot of students that transition from Applied Studies major directly into the MPA program. And the MPA program is also 100% online or on campus. We don't do hybrid, so you either go on campus or you stay online. So it is possible if you wanted to continue on into a graduate degree. Not that I'm saying you can only do MPA at DH. We have plenty of other graduate programs too at the university. But if you wanted to stay within the College of Business and Public Policy, then and you're interested maybe in the public sector track to begin with in the Applied Studies, and if that kind of sparks your interest, then the Master's in Public Administration program is also available. And it's also about a 2-year degree, depending on what we're talking about, which we can also have a conversation offline at a later point. As Jessica works with Ms. Philippa Miguel, and she's the admission person for the MPA program. So we're all part of the same team. So that's something also of interest to you, then we can definitely make that happen.
Absolutely. And just as a follow-up, in case you have any additional questions, have any concerns about admissions, about the curriculum policy, graduation requirements, any of that, please go ahead and contact Jessica. We have her information, www.calendly.com/APSJ Peraza. And along those lines, I want to take a moment to thank everybody that presented on our panel today. Remind you that all of our information will be provided on the website. Again, our information kit, the recording from today's session, and any follow-up information will also be added to the site. And we, again, thank you and hope that you'll participate in our online communities. We have a Facebook and a LinkedIn group for our Applied Studies students. And just thank you for taking the time to attend today. Let us know if you have any follow-up questions. and have a wonderful day. Thank you very much for attending today.
You do get to walk across the stage. That's my favorite part of this. It's sometimes the only time I meet you. And we typically have a reception for Applied Studies graduates. So for that last minute question, yes, yes, yes. That's why Truth in Advertising, the slide before this, showed happy Applied Studies graduates.
I'll go back. Those are Dominguez graduates. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.